Hey there and welcome to Scandal Steep. LaWanda Page was far more than the Bible-thumping, purse-swinging Aunt Esther that made her a household name. Behind the scenes, she was a fearless, boundary-pushing comedian who worked tirelessly to carve out a space for herself in an industry that often refused to see her as anything more than a stereotype. But her journey to fame was anything but easy. It was marked by relentless struggle, unwavering perseverance, and an unbreakable bond with her lifelong friend, Foxx. Before she became Aunt Esther, LaWanda Page was simply another comedian struggling to make ends meet. She spent years performing stand-up in rough, smoky clubs, perfecting a raw, no-holds-barred comedic style that, at the time, was considered too brash for mainstream Hollywood. Her act was unapologetically bold, filled with sharp wit, risk humor, and an unmistakable presence that captivated audiences. Yet, despite her undeniable talent, Hollywood wasn't exactly rolling out the red carpet for black female comedians. The industry had a narrow vision of what black women could be on screen, and Page didn't fit the mold. Opportunities were scarce, and despite her years of experience, she remained overlooked until fate stepped in. In the early 1970s, Foxx, a longtime friend from her childhood days in St. Louis, found himself at the peak of his career. His sitcom, Sanford and Son, was a runaway success, revolutionizing black television. But instead of riding his newfound fame alone, Foxx wanted to bring in the people he trusted, especially LaWanda. Foxx and Page had grown up together, coming from the same tough streets and sharing a love for comedy. When the show needed a strong, no-nonsense character to play Aunt Esther, Foxx knew there was only one person for the job. However, NBC wasn't convinced. LaWanda had never officially acted before, and stepping onto the set of a hit TV show was a daunting experience. She stumbled over her lines, and producers quickly decided she wasn't professional enough for the role. They were ready to fire her, but Foxx had other plans. Foxx, who had always been fiercely loyal to his friends, put his foot down. If they let Page go, he threatened to walk away from the show himself. The producers, unwilling to lose their star, relented, and Page was given another chance. But Foxx didn't stop there. He personally worked with Page every day, rehearsing lines, helping her build confidence, and ensuring she was ready to make Aunt Esther an unforgettable character. And when the cameras started rolling in front of a live audience, Page proved everyone wrong. The moment she stepped on set and delivered her first few lines, the crowd erupted. Aunt Esther had arrived, and Sanford and Son would never be the same. Page's fierce delivery, sharp comedic timing, and ability to go toe-to-toe with Foxx turned her into a fan favorite overnight. She had finally broken through, but success came at a cost. Despite the popularity of her character, Hollywood refused to see her as anything other than Aunt Esther. When Sanford and Son ended in 1977, Page should have been at the height of her career, landing diverse roles that showcased her range. But instead, she found herself typecast, repeatedly offered variations of the same character, loud, aggressive, deeply religious, and always ready with a sharp insult. Even when she landed a role in Detective School, a short-lived comedy in the late 70s, the industry's lack of respect for her was blatant. They couldn't even bother to spell her name correctly in the credits. Despite years of hard work, Hollywood still treated her as an afterthought. Page continued to work steadily, appearing in guest roles on popular sitcoms like Martin and films like Friday. But no matter where she went, Aunt Esther followed. Fans loved her, but many recognized that Hollywood wasn't giving her the respect she truly deserved. Unlike her white counterparts, who were able to evolve beyond their signature roles, Page was stuck in the box the industry had built for her. Then came the Dean Martin roasts, and this was where things got complicated. Page was no stranger to these roasts, where celebrities and comedians took turns delivering sharp, often brutal jokes at each other's expense. She quickly became a fan favorite for her ability to dish out as much as she received. But while the audiences laughed and cheered, some couldn't shake the feeling that Page wasn't being laughed with, she was being laughed at. Many of the jokes directed at her weren't about her talent or skills as a comedian. Instead, they focused on her appearance, her attitude, and, most significantly, her Aunt Esther-like persona. No matter how many times she proved herself on that stage, Hollywood continued to see her as a punchline rather than a powerhouse. But Page never backed down. She fired back at anyone who tried to make her the butt of a joke without expecting a comeback. Her razor-sharp wit left even the biggest Hollywood names speechless, proving that she belonged on that stage just as much as anyone else. Still, her fearlessness and talent didn't change the way the industry treated her. Despite her success on the Dean Martin roasts, Hollywood remained unwilling to let her break out of her Aunt Esther mold. While other comedians from the roasts, like Don Rickles and Phyllis Diller, went on to diverse and thriving careers, Page remained pigeonholed. Yet, despite the industry's refusal to fully acknowledge her greatness, LaWanda Page never stopped working. She continued performing stand-up, recording comedy albums, and making television appearances, all while staying true to her raw comedic roots. She may have been forced to clean up her act for TV, but in the clubs, she remained the unfiltered, fearless comedian that audiences had always loved. Her bond with Red Foxx also remained strong until his sudden death in 1991. Page was devastated, having just spent time reminiscing with him days before he passed. His loss was like losing a piece of her own history, but she carried on, keeping his legacy alive in interviews and performances. As the years went on, her health began to decline. She was diagnosed with diabetes, which slowed her down considerably. By the late 90s, she had largely stepped out of the spotlight, though her influence remained as strong as ever. Reruns of Sanford and Son continued introducing new generations to Aunt Esther, and fans still quoted her iconic lines. On September 14, 2002, LaWanda Page passed away at the age of 81. But her legacy lives on. She was more than just Aunt Esther. She was a pioneer, a fearless black woman who forced her way into an industry that didn't want to make space for her. She was a trailblazer who set the stage for future generations of black female comedians. And most of all, she was a fighter. Hollywood may have tried to limit her, but LaWanda Page was never just a punchline. She was a legend.